So the definition of hell given by Mephistopheles in scene 3 of Act 1, which are from lines 79 onwards, they are a definition of hell as a mental state. It is a very modern definition, defining hell not as a place with a physical reality, but a place which has no boundaries, which is ever present, which is something which is like an ongoing torture, eternal, timeless, continuous. And this definition is very modern and coming in the 16th century play, Dr. Faustus. It is an expression of the greatness of Marlowe's imagination. So the lines are, when almost flippantly Faustus asks Mephistopheles, still not trying to ignore the ominous meaning of Mephistopheles' words when he says that I am in hell continuously, or when he talks about himself and Lucifer and other damned angels as unhappy spirits who had rebelled against God. Faustus is doing exactly the same thing and he refuses to take warning. But this definition of hell is, like I said, one of the most eloquent and sophisticated as well as truthful definitions of hell. Why, this is hell, nor am I out of it. Thinkest thou that I, who saw the face of God and tasted the eternal joys of heaven, am not tormented with 10,000 hells of it being deprived from everlasting bliss? O Faustus, leave these frivolous demands which strike a terror to my fainting soul. And the last two lines in particular, when Mephistopheles, uncharacteristically, though, because he's supposed to be a symbol of hell with one single dimension, that is of evil, is presented like a suffering soul, a character, someone who has elements of reality. It is not merely allegorical or symbolic. This presentation of Mephistopheles as a suffering soul and his definition of hell are timeless, and they are among the most eloquent, modern, sophisticated, and truthful definitions of hell. And when Mephistopheles pleads with Faustus not to court damnation, this is again not what one would expect evil to do. All these show Marlowe's greatness of imagination, his greatness of conception, his ability to go beyond the obvious, his ability to create a new meaning and give this everlasting expression for all posterity. They are among the most outstanding elements of this play, the presentation of Mephistopheles' character as a suffering soul and this definition of hell. Faustus once more refuses to accept the truth of the situation, and once more flippantly, frivolously, he says, "What, is great Mephistopheles so passionate of being deprived of the joys of heaven? Learn thou of Faustus' manly fortitude." Again, the words fortitude, resolute become ironic because as the play moves on, we see Faustus descending into a shadow of himself from the man who was at the top of the world, who was so full of confidence, who was ready to master the universe, who was ready to achieve the impossible. He becomes a shivering, cowardly creature, and the very elements of resolution and fortitude and manliness which he had been urging upon himself disappear, leaving a cowering, cowardly man who has lost all belief and all self-confidence. And then he, instead of listening to Mephistopheles' words, he brushes them aside. He lectures Mephistopheles and scorn those joys thou shalt never possess. And then once more he flies off on a tangent, saying all that he is going to achieve, that element of heroism, which is again a Renaissance spirit, that he is going to be Lord and Commander of all elements, he is going to build bridges through the air, he is get the spirits to fetch him exotic fruits and unknown treasures. He will make everyone subordinate to him, even the powerful spirits. Ask questions about forbidden knowledge, gain answers, and then become the Lord and Commander of armies, that spirit of heroism. And then when Mephistopheles has done something uncharacteristic, he is gone beyond his duties and asked Faustus to stop going forward, and expressed in very clear terms about his own suffering and about the presence of hell, continuous hell. When he sees that Faustus has refused to listen to him, Mephistopheles does not say anything else. And then once more this scene ends on a note of exaggeration, as if Faustus is trying to boost up his own courage. It is not that he is unaware of the true meaning of Mephistopheles' words. He is definitely conscious, he knows what he is doing. It is not unwillingly, he has made his choice, and he is trying to give a kind of boost to his waning self-confidence. And so the last lines of scene 3 of Act 1 end on the same bluster, the same heroic note, the same element of ambition, desire. Lines again move very poetically and expressively. The blank verse seems to have a power of its own. And then the exaggeration which Faustus does in order to underline his courage. Had I as many souls as there be stars, I'd give them all for Mephistopheles. And he says, if I had as numberless infinite souls, I would give them to all Mephistopheles. And in the last scene, again, we will see how this same man who wanted to give his eternity to Mephistopheles and to hell descends into or deteriorates into someone who wants to be any creature, the lowest of all, who does not have a soul. And now here is the same bragging attitude, the same bluster, the same show of fortitude which rings hollow. And then the lines end on his going off on his journey of imagination as to how he'll make a bridge through the moving air and cross the ocean and get the treasures and change the boundaries of the continents and become the emperor of the world. Again, all these very Renaissance spirits. The last scene, that is scene 4 of Act 1, is a comic scene. Now this is again a very very prominent feature of English drama, particularly the 16th century drama, that there is a constant presence of comic scenes. They alternate with the serious scenes. They bring a comic relief, because the first 3 scenes of Act 1 are very intense, and the impact of these very intense scenes on the audience must have been profound. To see a man willingly court evil, to see Mephistopheles present on the stage, to hear the words of Mephistopheles, to watch Faustus headlong moving towards damnation, these must have been nerve-wracking for the audience. And the comic scenes are present in all the English plays to dispel some of the heaviness of the action. So the unity of action, which is a part of the Greek drama, is not followed by the English dramatists. They accept the 5-act format, but they do not accept the unities of time, place and action, because in this play also the action moves over many years. It moves from one place to another, and there is, of course, the unity of action, because there's no unity of action because of the mixture of comic and tragic elements. In the Greek drama, there is only one element of action, that is, it is either comedy or tragedy. There is no mixing. So this play, Act 1, with its 4 scenes, takes us towards the journey, or we move forward with Dr. Faustus towards his journey towards damnation, and there's a constant seesaw of movement in this play. Many critics say that there's almost a dizzying element because it moves very fast, and within the first act itself, we have seen so many different changes of emotion, because as the scene third scene ends, we find Faustus, somehow he does not display the same high spirits which he had done in the beginning. He is a bit despondent, and he is trying to convince himself, but actually his words do not seem convincing enough. And certainly his first encounter with Mephistopheles was not what he expected, and he is